I don't typically like Japanese role-playing games. They're slow, boring, and archaic, and they have stories with terrible, repetitive writing, gimmicky, one-dimensional characters, and a lacking theme or message, which most often boils down to power of friendship equal good, yay. I always struggle to finish JRPGs. Even when I enjoy a JRPG, like Earthbound, there are a lot of JRPG tropes that harm the experience, including archaic user interfaces and repetitive level systems and unnecessarily difficult, boring enemies. So when I say that Persona 4 is a fantastic game with fast-paced combat, developed characters, good writing, and significant, relevant commentary about truth and identity, you know that it's a damn good game. Before I continue any further, I want to say that there will not be any major spoilers for Persona 4 or its remake, Persona 4 Golden. If you haven't played these games, then I highly encourage you to watch this video and see why you should play Persona 4. Specifically the remake, Persona 4 Golden. Because I've played both and I can definitively say that Persona 4 Golden is the better game. The game isn't balls off the wall difficult, so you won't get as frustrated playing Golden, but there are some moments that'll hurt you, like when you encounter these fucking bronze dice for the first time and they just explode, killing your entire party and making you restart at the beginning of the floor. But, other than that, the game isn't too harsh on its punishments. On top of removing the over-the-top, unnecessarily ruthless punishments of its predecessor, Persona 4 Golden improves on the slow, monotonous gameplay of other JRPGs, making a fast-paced, active combat system. Turn-based combat is boring. I rarely finish games with turn-based combat because it's so monotonous and frustrating. It doesn't have interesting, active gameplay. I've finished about 4 games with turn-based combat, but all of these games have something unique in the turn-based combat. Earthbound and Mother 3 have a rolling health system, which means that the player takes damage over a set amount of time instead of the damage subtracting immediately. Undertale has a bullet time system where you avoid the enemy's attacks whenever it's their turn. And Persona 5 has a fast-paced combat system that ends encounters quickly so that they don't become boring. Persona 4 Golden has the most in common with Persona 5. Not really a surprise, since they're from the same series, but Persona 4 still has some impressive combat elements like the elemental weaknesses: physical, fire, ice, wind, lightning, light, and dark. Light and dark are odd because they instantly kill the enemy, but that means they also instantly kill your party too. The other elements, including physical sometimes, can knock down an enemy, but the other 4 elements, fire, ice, wind, and lightning, are the most common method to knock down an enemy. And if you knock down an enemy, you can initiate an all-out attack, which is the best part of this combat system, because it either ends the fight or makes the fight go a lot quicker. An all-out attack deals a large amount of damage depending on how many people you have in your party and whether or not people in your party are knocked down or inflicted with status effects, such as sleep, confusion, panic, despair, etc. But all of these complications add further to the combat system's depth because there are drawbacks and benefits to your choices. Even the blessed all-out attack has its disadvantages, because if you knock down an enemy and don't engage in an all-out attack, then you can attack its weakness again with individual party members, dealing more damage than an all-out attack. But using an all-out attack doesn't consume any resources. Sometimes curing status ailments is the best option, but other times you need to conserve your items, so you can wait for the end of a battle to cure your status ailment instead. Sometimes moves that buff your stats and debuff the enemy stats are the best method, but the drawback there is the cost of your SP gauge, which is probably something I should talk about. Okay, basically it's your magic. You have your HP, which is your health, and SP, which is your magic gauge. Physical skills use up some of your HP, and magical skills deplete some of your SP. Every element of this combat system has a drawback and an advantage. It creates something that's complex, but because of other aspects, like the glorious all-out attack, the game has a combat system that's actually faster than most other JRPGs. And also not boring. But if I want to be honest, the combat's probably my least favorite part of the game. But it's the part that sets this game apart from other JRPGs. So it's the most important aspect to talk about first. But one of the more interesting concepts is the setting of the combat, which is inside a television. So let's take a stroll through the world inside the TV. From what I've experienced, the Persona series has some of the most interesting story concepts in video games because they involve taboo psychological topics, which adds an empathetic human aspect to the character. Now that human aspect is the most significant part in this game. When I say human, I mean something that shows a character's flaws, making them believable and significant. And in Persona 4 Golden, that's the entire game. So let me give you a little preview of the game, or at least its premise. So you play as this kid. He doesn't really have a name because you get to name him, so we'll call him Fred. So you play as Fred, and you're sent to your uncle's house because your parents got a fancy new job, since clearly money is more important than taking care of your child. Anyway, your uncle lives in this fictional small town in Japan called Inaba. You go to the local school, and you meet a few new friends. You have Shaggy, Velma, and Daphne. Everyone always mentions to you that it's a small town and that nothing strange happens here, which obviously foreshadows that absolutely nothing abnormal is happening. There are no rumors about a midnight channel that appears on rainy nights when the TV is turned off. Fred is not able to stick his hand inside the TV, and there are absolutely no murders going on in Inaba. Everyone is 100% healthy and alive, except for the two dead bodies hanging from the telephone poles. Yes, Persona 4 is a murder mystery game, which is honestly a pretty compelling premise. You even get your own mystery gang, complete with your own mascot, Scooby-Doo. So you and your mystery gang find out that people who go missing end up inside the world of the television, and people who enter this world encounter something called a shadow, which is the part of someone that they hate, that they hide away because no one would ever want to interact with them if they saw this side of them. But what makes your mystery gang so special? Why can't any other person solve this mystery? Like, I don't know, the police? Because that's kind of their job. Well, that's because your friend, like Shaggy here, has the power to confront and accept his shadow, awakening his persona, which is basically a spirit that the characters can summon at any time. If you want to know more about it, the concept stems from Jungian psychology, so research more about that if you're interested. But they're also the only way to fight other monsters that appear inside the TV world. I don't want to spoil too much about these personal struggles, because they're the crux for all of the dungeons you explore, and all of them are incredibly interesting. Characters have to cope with struggles like superiority complexes, gender stereotypes, family pressures, and so much more. Because each of the characters in your mystery gang all have to accept the parts that they hate about themselves, the game is able to depict flaws for the main cast of characters. This is the human element I mentioned earlier. The ability to show a character's flaws, allowing the characters to become more like real people who are flawed, imperfect, and just sometimes assholes. What's more impressive is that the premise of the entire game is facing your true self, which the game defines as both the amazing and abhorrent parts of someone. And that theme successfully continues throughout every single character, all of whom you can befriend in your daily life as a high school student, which is the best part of this game. The bonds you make throughout the game are represented by a mechanic called a social link. And it's the best part of the whole game because hanging out with your friends directly correlates with your strength inside the TV. Meaning that this game finally fulfills on the conceit that so many Saturday morning cartoons were not able to deliver, that your friends are your power. I know, that's literally one of the JRPG tropes that I said I despised at the very beginning of this video, but Persona 4's execution of the conceit is different than other JRPGs, which isn't surprising considering that the game already diverts from the other lackluster JRPG tropes like slow, repetitive combat. Most other JRPGs decide to state the conceit explicitly. It usually goes something like this. Oh, you can't defeat me. I am unstoppable because I move faster than the speed of light.
That's not true. With my friends by my side, I can do anything. That's why I'll always keep on fighting.
What's happening? Such power is radiating from that person. How is that possible?
Instead of having lazy writing that explicitly states the core theme of the game, Persona 4 decides to use its gameplay to establish its motifs. And that's where the social links come in. Social links are synonymous with a friendship, a bond, or sometimes even a romance. But the most significant part of the social links is that as you hang out with your friends, you and your mystery gang gain new powers that are incredibly helpful inside the world of the TV. If you spend time with people in your mystery gang, like Shaggy, Velma, Daphne, and Scooby, they can gain new abilities on their personas, including powerful debuff and buff skills, which are basically essential in boss fights on higher difficulties. And since the abilities you gain from your friends are so powerful and necessary, the game is able to build the previously mentioned conceit. Your friends are your power. Without people like Shaggy or Daphne, you wouldn't be able to fight shadows inside the TV or solve the mystery of the serial murders in Inaba. Developing a conceit like that is damn impressive and commendable, since the power of friendship theme most often fails in every narrative. But Persona 4 actually tries to have some subtlety to it, like most any media should. The most impressive part is that the friendship conceit connects back to the game's other core motif, pursuing the truth. It's not hard to ascertain that Persona 4 focuses on truth, since the game always reminds you about finding the truth. Fred gets reminders from a large-nosed old man, strange people in his dreams, whenever he starts a social link. The idea is plastered all over the place, and the theme by itself isn't special, but the combination of the aforementioned conceit and the motif of truth results in something truly special. Because of the combined themes, the game explores more than TV bad, friendship good. The game presents characters who all struggle with identity, and the game presents a conflict that results in all of the characters finding out who they really are, their true self. But as impressive as that achievement is, the game still has a few problems I think you should know about if you want to play this game now. The game isn't completely balanced. One of the few problems in the combat system is that physical attacks are in a single category, meaning that personas who are resistant to physical skills are far more valuable because most any enemy attacks using physical skills, which is a problem because other personas then don't matter as much. There's also one specific character that can seem annoying at first, but I promise you, he gets better. The social link system could be better because spending time with people who aren't a part of your mystery gang isn't as valuable, since you don't gain any new skills, but you can create more powerful personas based on the corresponding social link. A few of the social links also suffer from poor writing, which just makes the social links feel pointless when it happens for the characters outside of your mystery gang. But hey, maybe there's another game, kind of like this one, that fixes all the complaints I have. And I think that's it. This game is really good, and I don't have a lot of significant problems with it. I'd very much recommend this game, especially if you don't typically enjoy JRPGs. It's a game that's worth your time and has a relevant creative commentary about finding truth in the world and in yourself. And that's Persona 4. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this, any of my videos, for any amount of time. As usual, make sure to leave a dislike and a hate comment down below, and subscribing just to unsubscribe, because I was just too cynical with this really positive video. I also want to apologize for how long this video took. There were a lot of setbacks with gameplay. My save data got corrupted about halfway through, and it's a 70-hour game, so that was very much a large setback. It didn't help that I was also working on another video project for you all, but as a little reward for waiting this long, I'll give you a sneak peek of what's to come. Anyway, I may be cynical, but I wish you the very best.
This is Joker. The mission is go.
Persona!